For this video, we're going to look at 3 art china treatments. We'll begin with Juno, and then look at Gypsy, and then finish up with the decaled version of Monk. So we'll begin by looking at the treatment listing for Juno, which says, handsome, full-length draped figures tinted all over in harmonious blending of blue, green, ivory, pink, and yellow with gold edge. And what you see is this rainbow effect with all these colors being blended together. There are 2 primary figures for Juno. We have the brunette with the peacock, and then we have the redhead with the birds. So we'll go over a couple of these shapes. We have pickup pieces from Angelus Dinnerware. We have both figures. These are little fruit cups. So we see the Angelus underglaze back stamp as well as the gold Laughlin art china marking. A bread tray. We've seen a couple bread trays before, particularly with currant. The Tioga cake plate. And there's a plaque. The chocolate pot. A geisha jug. This is the largest of 5 sizes. A Danube creamer. There's also a Danube little teapot and sugar. And then some chocolate cups. Now the reverse of Juno treatments usually will have one of 2 floral treatments. So for example, in this geisha jug, if we turn it around, we see the lilacs. And the lilacs pop up on other pieces, so we have a plaque with the large version of lilacs. For the chocolate pot, we turn it around, you should see yellow rose. And this particular decal was also used on bridal toiletware all by itself. If we look at the back of the chocolate cups, we should also see a small sprig. No, maybe it's the Danube creamer. There it is, the small sprig of the yellow rose on the Danube creamer. Neither of these chocolate cups have anything on the reverse. So Juno was made from roughly 1904 to 1906. After the current pattern starts to become popular, Juno starts to fall down the list, because in 1905, as we see here, it's at the top. But once currant becomes popular, it starts to drop down, as does Gypsy. Gypsy was only made in 1904, 1905, maybe 1906. It had a shorter run. And this is Gypsy. So there are several different decals that make up this line. And they are all Gypsy treatments. In fact, let's look at the description for Gypsy. Famous beauties, tinted all over in warm browns and ivory, gold edge. So here we have a berry bowl, the small berry bowl, with a Gypsy treatment, Laughlin art china marking. And there we have the Gypsy heads. We'll look at the other side. This one's got a little bit of flaking on the decal. We have a gem jug with Gypsy. We'll turn it around to see the back. And then we have a rather unusual Steinauer with the Gypsy and the tambourine. And we turn this one around, and we don't have a Gypsy. We have this spring decal. So there are 4 decals representing each season. You won't see these 4-season decals on a lot of Homer Laughlin wares, though they do pop up from time to time, but I've only seen like a handful of examples. Bill and Donna Gray, who wrote a book on Harker pottery, they show all 4 of these treatments used on Harker. So other companies use this decal, but this is the representation for spring. So there's also, of course, a summer, a fall, and a winter. But it's odd to see it in combination with this particular Gypsy treatment. We'll look at the mark at the gem jug. We've got 3 markings going on. We've got the signature marking under the glaze, the art china marking, and then J4. So a lot of these gem jugs had pattern numbers, and that happens to be J4. We'll look at more gem jugs in the next video and look at the treatment numbers. And then in the back, we have a Mingo largeur. We've seen this piece when we were looking at Mingo before with the Gypsy treatment. So we have a little bit of a crossover between art china and toiletware with respect to Gypsy. You will also find Juno on toiletware, the bridal shape. Now, we'll finish up by looking at the decaled versions of Monk, because in the previous video we looked at the underglaze blue transfers, and I have a couple of them out to compare. So we were looking at the four senses. So this is the smell. He's smelling the little flower. And there's the decaled version, which is identical, except it's an overglaze decal print. And we have another one. This was representing sound. He's tuning his violin. Again, here's the decal version. So with Monk, you will generally find this treatment on pitchers, ewers, mugs, plates, plaques. This is not something that was extensively used on the other art china pieces or decorated specialty pieces. But one thing about Monk, it was used virtually every year that art china was available. So you will have, for example, Steinewers with the curved handle, which is your first version, and then you will have Steinewers with the straight handle, which is your second version. So anytime you have a curved handled Steinewer, you are dealing with an early piece. Now if you look at something like Juno, which is roughly 1904 to 1906, you will find both styles. If on the other hand you're dealing something, let's say Dreamland or White Pets, which is a little bit later, you're going to see the straight-sided only. Now these mugs and ewers all had treatment numbers. And we have a little list here from 1906. And we see 5 or 6 different treatments describing the different types of monks. So we've got monks with brown tint. We've got some with rich gold tracing, some with blended tints. Sometimes you can find these treatment numbers. For example, this one is marked on the bottom with a 5. I'm not going to pick it up because I'm only using one hand. I don't want to break anything. But this has a 5. This has a 2. This one has a 4. This one has a 3. So a lot of times if you find those numbers in gold, they're referring to these 6 different treatments. And you can see they're all very similar. There's going to be blended tints of browns or greens or golds. You're going to have some with the gold stamps on it or without. So one last thing, because at the bottom of this list we see elk. BPO elks, which I believe that stands for Benevolent Protective Order of Elks. I think that I should have probably looked that up before I started this. But anyway, we have a Stein set using this treatment. Now this elk decal was used by a lot of different potteries. But this is a Homer Laughlin Stein mug, or Hornstein. And we see the decal being used by this particular pottery, which is EECO. That's probably East End Company, I would imagine. East End China Company. There it is, EECO porcelain. That would have been in East Liverpool, Ohio. And it says, it has the elk decal, but it doesn't have our little BPOE at the top, the little logo that's usually at the top of these treatments. And it says souvenir of Rock Springs Park, which was an amusement park in Chester, West Virginia. So again, a lot of potteries use this decal. A lot of American potteries use the monks as well. So you're going to find a lot of these decals that you see here in this video, as well as variations by other potteries from this same time period. One more thing about sharing decals, because the Juno treatments and the Gypsy treatments you will find on European pottery. Very similar to Homer Laughlin artware. A little bit nicer, I have to say, like Bavarian pottery that uses a lot of Juno and Gypsy treatments. So that's going to be it for now. Next time we're going to wrap up our look at art china and just look at some random pieces.